What are patterns? So we'll take a we'll take out different patterns and we'll try to print them using Python. Okay, so this is one such pattern. As you can see, these are all different three stars. Okay, so there are four lines. This is line one, line two, line three, line four, and there are four stars in each line. Okay, so now how do we print this? How do we go about printing this? Okay, so what we'll do is first we'll print a single line. We'll try to print a single line. Okay, so always we'll try to break down the problem into small pieces and we'll first solve that small piece. Okay, so first let's try to print this particular uh, pattern, just this particular part. Okay, so now how do we print? If for given n equal to 4, you should print 4 stars. For n equal to 5, you should print 5 stars. Okay, so that means you have to print for any n, you have to print n stars, right? That is a question. Okay, so now what do we do? Let's say one simple concept is that we know is for loop, right? We know for loop. Okay, so we can write that for I in range of n. We can try using for loop. So for I in range of n, what do? We can just write print star. Okay, print star. Now what should happen? We expect n stars to be printed, because what happens here? First I will be 0. Okay, then it will go to the loop. A star will be printed. Then I equal to 1. Then one more 1. Then again this will be executed. Print star will run. Then I equal to 2. Then print star will run. Okay, until I equal to n minus 1, this will run. So we should be able to print n stars with this. Okay, so let's try running this code and let's see if it works. So first, what should we do? We should read our input, right? Should read our input. Okay, let's read the input. N equal to int of input type conversion from string to int. Okay, so by default input will read everything as string. So we're converting it into int with this keyword. Okay, so now what do we need to do? We need to write a for loop for I in range of n. Okay, we need to print star. Okay, so let's see if we will be able to print a n stars in a single row. Now our input is 5, right? So we should be able to print 5 stars in a single row. Let's see if we will print that. Okay, just a minute here. 5 for I in range of. Okay, 5 stars are getting printed, but these are not in the same row. These are printing in different columns. Okay, so by default in Python, what happens is, as you know, when you use a print function, whenever you use a print function, after that, the next print will be printed in the new line. Okay, by default, it will be printed in the new line. Okay, so for us to print in the same line, we can use this keyword. Okay, inside the print function, you can add comma, equal to just empty string. Okay, what will this do? This will keep all the print statements in the same line. Okay, essentially, instead of what will this keyword do is, print function don't print in the new line. Next time also print in the same line. That is what this end equal to just an open just empty string. That is what this particular code will do. Okay, in case if you want to add something, if you want to, let's say, add some ABC. Okay, what happens is this ABC is added after every star. Okay, now star ABC, star ABC, star ABC will be printed in the same line. Okay, but we don't want any ABC, so we'll just leave it. Okay, right? So now we are printing 5 stars in a single line. In case if we want any space here, we'll print a space. Okay, just to make it look better. So we have printed 5 stars. Now we need to print how many lines like that? We have to print n times. Okay, we have to print n times. What can we do? We can, let's say if you want to print this 5 times, we can just write this code 5 times. If you want to print this 10 times, we have to print this 10 times. We have to copy this code 10 times. Okay, but we don't know what n is, right? So what can we do here? We can write another loop. We can write another loop for, let's write it j. Okay, so for I in range of n. Okay, so this will go inside the for loop. Okay, so what does this code do? What does the highlighted code do? The highlighted code will print a single line, right? It prints a single line. Now how many lines do we want? We want n lines. So what can we do? We'll do another for loop. It will also run for n times. This is the outer loop. This will run for n times. Each time it will run this code. And what will this code do? This will print a single line. Okay, so this loop will print a single line, and we are iterating it for n times. Okay, now let's run this code and see what happens. Okay, what's happening? The star is getting printed in the same line because we have used end equal to empty string, right? End equal we have used the end keyword. So like all these stars are getting printed in the same line. Okay, but we don't want to get we don't want all of them to be in the same line. Okay, once a single line is done, we want the stars to be printed from the second line. Okay, once the first n stars are printed, we want the stars to be printed in the next line. So what shall we do for this? When will the first line be done? The first line will be done here. So what we can do here is, after the first line is done, after the one line is done, we'll just add a print, empty print. What will empty print will do? Basically, this will say that from now onwards, whatever that needs to be printed next time, print in the new line. That is what this particular line will say, because we are not using end. Simple rule is that if we use end, the output will be printed in the same line from next time. If we don't use end in the print function, whatever we print next, it will be printed in the, if you don't use end, whatever we print, it will be printed in the next line. Okay, now let's run this code and see. Yes, we're getting the output. Okay, now what if the output, input is 6? For that also we're getting the output. Okay, we'll try to understand this a little more. Okay, we'll just try run this code once. Over here, I've written the code. Whatever we have written, I've written whatever I've written in the code playground, I wrote here the same thing. So let's try to understand what is happening. Let's say n equal to 4. For n equal to 4, what happens? Okay, I goes from I in the range of n, I in the range of 4. That means I goes from 0 to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, similarly, j also goes from 0 to 3, 0, 1, 2, 3. These are the possible values of I and j. Now, first, this is the outer loop. This is the outer loop, right? This is outside, and this is the inner loop. Okay. Now, first outer loop gets executed for I in range of n. That means first I equal to 0. Now, what happens? Again, this loop gets initiated, j equal to 0. Okay, j equal to 0. Right. Now, what happens? Print of star, comma end equal to empty string. That means a star will be printed. Because I used n, the cursor won't move to the next line. The cursor will stay in the same line. It will stay in the same line because I used the keyword end, end keyword. Okay. So now what happens? Again, j becomes 1. J iterates, j becomes 1. Okay. Now again this gets printed. Another star gets printed in the same line because the cursor is on the same line because I'm using the end keyword. So basically, how it works is, if you use the end keyword in the print function, next time when you print something, it will be printed in the same line. If you don't use end keyword, if you use regular print, then whatever you print that next time, that gets printed in the next line. Okay. So last time I used end, so that's why I'm printing the star here. Again, I used end this time also, so the cursor will be here only. Now j will again become 2. Okay. J will again become 2. Okay. Again, star will be printed. Okay. And cursor will be here only. Now j will become 3. J becomes 3. Next iteration. Again, star will be printed. Okay, again cursor will be here. Now j equal to 3, so this for loop will end. J cannot be 4, right? Because j can only go from 0 to 3. Now this for loop is ended. Now this line gets executed. Our code comes here. Now print function gets executed. Now print is without end. So the cursor comes from here to here. It comes to a new line. So now again, next iteration of the outer loop happens. In the outer loop, I becomes 1. Again, the code comes here. Okay, I equal to 1, right? Now again, when the code comes here, this gets executed. Again, the for loop is initiating again, the inner for loop. Now j again starts from 0. Okay. Now what happens? Because the cursor is here, star gets printed here. Okay. Star gets printed here. This line gets executed. Star gets printed here. Again, since I'm using n, star cursor will stay in this line only. Again, this gets executed till j equal to 0, j equal to 1, j equal to 2, j equal to 3. That means 4 stars gets printed. Once this is done, the inner for loop will be done. Okay. Once the inner for loop will be done. Okay. Once the inner for loop is done. Okay, again print function is there here. This line gets executed. Cursor will move to this line. Okay, now the next iteration of I outer loop happens. I updates to 2. Again, j becomes 0. J equal to 1. J equal to 2. 3 happens. So 4 stars gets printed again. Okay. Okay. Now again, I equal to 3 happens. I gets updated. Again, j equal to 0. J equal to 1. J equal to 2. J equal to 3 happens. Again, 4 stars gets printed. Okay. Now I cannot be 4. I can only take values from 0 to 3. So now this, for loop gets executed. This for loop ends, and finally the code runs successfully. The code is ended. Okay. So this is the pattern that you will get finally. Okay. This is the pattern that you get finally. So if we make some observations here, let's try to make some observations. What happened here? So to iterate over the rows, what do I mean by rows? These are the rows. This is first row. This is second row. This is third row. This is fourth row. These are rows. Whatever is horizontal, this is first row, second row, third row, fourth row. Okay. This is the first row. This is second row, third row, fourth row. First row, second row, third row, fourth row. Okay. So to iterate over the rows, we are using outer loop. Okay. We use outer loop to iterate over rows. Okay. Iterate over rows. To iterate over columns, that means for a specific I, for example, for I equal to 0 or I equal to 1, what are we doing? For I equal to 0 or I equal to 1, for a specific I, what are we doing? We are updating j from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So for a specific I, we are updating j. Okay, that is basically the inner loop, right? That is basically the inner loop. That means we are using the inner loop to update over the columns, iterate over columns. Okay, so essentially what is happening here? What is happening here? For I equal to 0, j is, we are going from j equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if I just clear this a bit, yeah. So if I just clear this, so what is happening here? For I equal to 0, j equal to 1, this is getting printed. J equal to, sorry, for I equal to 0, j equal to 0, this is getting printed. J equal to 1, this is getting printed. J equal to 2, this is getting printed. J equal to 3, this is getting printed. And j cannot be 4 because j can maximum be n minus 1. Now this for loop is getting exited. The inner for loop is ending. Now next iteration of the outer loop is starting. J starts again from 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, so this is what is happening here. This is what is happening here. Okay, so we have two loops, outer loop, inner loop. We use outer loop to iterate over rows. We use inner loop to iterate over columns. Okay, this is the key part. Okay, this is the key part. Okay, so that is how we solve these kind of questions. Okay, so let's look at the next pattern. Let's look at the next pattern. So the next pattern is this. The next pattern is this. Okay, so let's basis whatever we have seen so far, let's try to solve this particular question. Again, what did we understand? We first iterate over rows. So this is I equal to 0. This is I equal to 1. This is I equal to 2. This is I equal to 3. N equal to 4. So this is j equal to 0. This is j equal to 1. This is j equal to 2. This is j equal to 3. Okay. So for each I, previously what did we do? For each I, we printed from j0 to 3. Now what do we need to do? We shouldn't print from j0 to 3 because for I equal to 0, we just need to print from, if I equal to 0, let's say if this is the value of I, this is the value of j. For I equal to 0, we just need to print for 0. We shouldn't print for 1, 2, 3. For I equal to 0, we should just print for j equal to 0. If I equal to 1, we should print for j equal to 0, j equal to 1. If I equal to 2, we should print for j equal to 0, 1, 2 as well. If I equal to 3, we should print for j equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So this is the pattern that we need to print. Okay, that means since I is updating from 0 to n minus 1, okay, n is equal to 4, n minus 1 equal to 3. So I is updating from 0 to n minus 1. Okay, we can run a for loop first for I in range of n. This means I goes from 0 to n minus 1. Now what happens to j? What happens to j? Can j go from 0 to n in any loop? No, it cannot go from 0 to n minus 1 because for I equal to 0, j values of 1 to 3 are not possible. 1 to 3 values are not possible for j. It can only go till 0. That means if you see here closely, for I equal to 0, j can maximum be 0. For I equal to 1, j can maximum be 1. For I equal to 2, j can maximum be 2. That means j will always go from 0 to I. J will always go from 0 to I. Okay. J will always go from 0 to I. That means j will take I plus 1 values, right? J is taking 0 and j is taking I also. That means for I equal to 0, j is taking 1 value. For I equal to 1, j is taking 2 values. Okay. So what do we write here? For j in range of, okay, I plus 1, because how many values is j taking? If I equal to 0, it's taking 1 value. If I equal to 1, j is taking 2 values. If I equal to 2, j is taking 3 values. So I plus 1 values, this is taking. So we are iterating over I plus 1. So for j in range of I plus 1, you just need to print the same thing. Print of star, comma, n equal to empty string. We use this to print in the same line. Once the for loop is ended, the inner for loop is ended, we just use the print function to move the cursor to the next line. So this is the output, right? This should be the code for this. This should be the code for this. Now let's just write this in code playground and see if this works. Okay. So for I in range of n, for j in range of I plus 1. Okay. Now let's run this and see. Yes, this is working for 6. Let's try for 4. For 4 also this is working. So that is how we implement this particular pattern. So let's take a look at the next pattern. The next pattern looks like this. The first row, just 1. The second row, 1, 1 and 2. Third row, 1, 2, 3. Fourth row, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Did we do this somewhere? Did we see this somewhere? Yes, we have already seen this. Just look at the last problem. The last problem, the shape looks like this. The shape of the pattern looks like this. It's a right angle triangle. Okay? It's a right angle triangle, right? So the shape is exactly the same. Shape is exactly the same. Okay. Let's just keep the indexes I equal to 0, I equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, j equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So I can go from 0 to 4. Okay. And for each I, in each row, okay, what happens to j? J can go from 0 till, for example, let's take this. In this row, what can be the values of j? J can go from j. This is j equal to 0, j equal to 1, j equal to 2. J can go from 0 to 2, which is 0 to I. That means for in any row, j can go from 0 to I. Okay. So these are indexes of the rows and indexes of the columns. I equal to 0, I equal to j equal to 0. Okay. These are indexes, right? So let's write the same thing, but now instead of printing star, we have to make some changes. Okay. Instead of printing star, like previously we have printed star, right? Instead of printing star, we have to make some changes. Okay. Let's try to find that as well. Okay. Let's try to find that particular thing as well. So what is happening here? For j equal to 0, if j is 0, what are we printing? 1, we are printing 1. If j is 0, we are printing 1. If j is 1, we are printing 2. If j is 2, we are printing 3. If j is 3, we are printing 4. Okay, that means what should we print for any particular place? We should just print j plus 1. Right? Let's try to implement this code and see. So for I in range of n, for j in range of I plus 1, instead of printing star, we should print j plus 1. Okay. We're getting the output. In case if you want to give some extra space to make it look better, we can like just add space here. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. If we give input as 5, it will give 5. Okay. We'll just do a brief overview of what is happening here line by line once again. Okay. We'll just run this once and see. Okay. So let's just move to the notepad. Okay. So if you see here, what is happening here? What is happening? First, I equal to 0. Okay. Yeah. You see here what is happening? First, I equal to 0. Okay. Then j will be 0 first. Okay. Once j is 0, what happens? Okay. What do we need to print? We need to print j plus 1. So we will print j plus 1 is 1. Okay. Now can j move to 1? It cannot move to 1 because j can maximum be I. We have seen this, right? J goes from 0 to I only. Okay. I goes from 0 to n minus 1. J goes from 0 to I. This is the outer loop. This is the inner loop. Okay. Now, once the inner loop is over, then again in outer loop, I becomes 1. Once I becomes 1, again the inner loop starts, j equal to 0. If j equal to 0, what happens? 1 will be printed, j will be 1, 2 will be printed. Okay. In the inner loop, the cursor will remain in the same line because we are using the end function. Once the inner loop ends, the cursor will move to the next line. Now j can be maximum of 1. The inner loop is ended. Once the inner loop ends, again I becomes 2. Okay. Once I becomes 2, j equal to 0, j equal to 1, j equal to 2. For j equal to 0, 1 gets printed, j plus 1. For j equal to 1, 1 plus 1, 2 gets printed. For j equal to 2, 2 plus 1, 3 gets printed. In this way, we are getting the desired output. Okay, we're getting the desired output. Right? So this is what is happening. First, I becomes 0. For I equal to 0, j can only be 0. So 1 is getting printed. So this loop gets over. Okay. And once this loop gets over, because of this print function, the cursor moves to the second line. So whatever is going to be printed next line, it will be printed in the second line. Now I becomes 1. Again, j starts fresh from 0. J 0 prints 0 plus 1, 1. So 1 is printed first. So 1 is printed. Again, j becomes 1. So j plus 1 gets printed 2. Now j cannot be 2 because I is 1, j cannot be 2. Now this loop gets over. It goes to third line. In this way, this particular code gets executed. Okay. So now let's take a look at the next pattern. Okay. Let's print this. Okay. So what's happening here? This is also in the same pattern. Okay. That means I goes from 0 to n minus 1 in the inner loop. J goes from 0 to I plus 0 to I. Okay. So we have already seen this. Okay. But the values are changing. Here it's 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. But here it's 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. Okay. So let's try to find a pattern. Our only job here is to first, identify what is the outer loop. Okay. I'll write it here. Our job is always in solving these questions. The following things are very, very critical. First, identify the outer loop. Okay. Once you identify the outer loop, then, okay, where will the outer loop run from? In this case, 0 to n minus 1. We have to find the range. Where will the inner loop run from? Okay. This will run from 0 to I only. That is why we are getting this shape. That is why we are getting this shape. So the ranges of outer loop, inner loop generally determine the shape of, like, shape of what is the pattern. Now the values of pattern are determined by what are we writing in the inner loop. What is the code that we are writing in the inner loop? Okay, that is the most critical part. Okay, so now let's just do the indexing 0, 1, 2. This index is 4. The index of this column is 0, 0th column, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now what is happening? What is happening here? If the row number is 1, 2 is getting printed always. If the row number is 2, always 3 is getting printed. If the row number is 3, always 4 is getting printed. That means we should print I plus 1. Okay, the shape is same as the last sum. In the last question also, the shape is same. Just the value is getting changed. So instead of printing, last problem we printed j plus 1. In this problem we will print I plus 1 and the problem will be solved. Okay, let's go back to our question. Now instead of j plus 1, we'll print I plus 1. Okay, let's see. Yes, problem is solved. Okay, we're printing the pattern, right? So that is how we solve this specific problem. Now let's move to the next pattern. What is our next pattern? Okay, the next pattern looks like this. Okay, again, it's a triangle. It's a triangle, right? It's a triangle. Okay, that means I goes from 0 to n minus 1. J goes from 0 to I. We've already seen this. Let's just write the index as 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. J equal to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. If I equal to 2, J is going from 0, 1, 2. Okay, yes. Now what do we need? What do we need to print? Okay, basically we are starting with 1. Every time we are printing something, we are just incrementing it by 1. That means what we can do is, at the beginning of the for loop, we'll just introduce a new variable k, which we initiate as 1. Okay, and whenever we print something, after printing, immediately we'll increment it by 1. Okay, this should solve my question, right? Yeah. So let me just go back to the code playground. Okay. So what I'll do is, first I'll initiate it. Whatever I need to print, I'll call this as k equal to 1. Okay. Now for I in range of n, for j in range of I plus 1. Okay. What will I do? Okay, I'll print k. Okay, then what will I do? I'll update k. Okay, I'll run and see if this works. Okay, I'll just give some spaces so that we can differentiate between the numbers, both the numbers. Okay, yes, this is working. This is working. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's what we need, right? I'll just give 5 and see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So that is the expected output, and that's how we can solve this particular problem. Okay. So if you look at how we are solving all this problem, it's kind of like, majorly what's happening is we look at the shape. From the shape, we'll understand what will be the outer loop, then what will be the inner loop. Okay. Once we understand both these things, then we'll try to find the value. Value can depend on I, it can depend on J, it can depend on N, or it can be a combination of all. We'll try to write a table and find the value of value. Okay, so that is how we can solve these problems. So do share your feedback for this session. Okay, so our team will